moderator, James Glover. Senior Content Strategist, Director at Switches and Modes Creative Agency, James Glover leads a team of professional artists and producers to develop content for major companies, networks, and creative agencies around the planet. Actively develops creative content for clients such as W Hotels International, BMW, Rakuten, Rodem, Bose, BET, MTV, and more. Prior to his senior content strategist position, James was a social media producer with the content team for Fox Broadcasting. He was hands-on with the creation of original social content in support of current shows on the Fox broadcast channels. The content created has been seen by millions across multiple verticals on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. James has also worked with such well-known brands as L'Oreal, Viacom, and Fox Sports. He is a UNM graduate. Go Lobos! Woo! I'm so glad I had a chance to do that. Here, James Glover, everyone.
Thank you so much. Let's give it up for our filmmakers. Great block of films that was. So I think we've got a few too many chairs, but it is my understanding that we have Abby Hickey from the Cookie Crumbles, and we've got Miguel from the Guitar Thief. Is that correct? Nice to meet you. Do we have Miguel? Yeah, right here. Oh, over there. All right. Hi. Nice to meet you. Thank you guys so much for sharing your films with us. Okay, so it's just the three of us and a handful of our closest friends. So we'll kind of just jump right in, introduce yourself and your film, and give me a little blurb about you. And we'll start with Abby.
Okay, hi, my name is Abby Ebenezer.
Oh, okay, thank you. I did take a wild stab in the dark at that, so.
So my film was Cookie Crumbles, as you saw the Girl Scout cookies. I am from the Pacific Northwest, from Seattle, and we filmed that all in downtown Seattle area. Incredible. Too. So I was the assistant director on the film, and child wrangler.
Yeah. We'll get to that question.
Yeah, but I also do directing, producing, and acting too. So it was really fun. That film.
That's awesome. I love it. All right, Miguel.
Hello, I'm Miguel Lepe Jr. From Chicago, and woohoo! Woo. The movie takes place in a Chicago neighborhood known as Pilsen, which is mostly Latinx demographic. And the story takes place down a major street of Pilsen, which is 18th Street. And the story was inspired by a few different things, like the bicycle thief and a real-life mariachi strike at an apartment building in California. So, yeah, awesome. Happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I was going to ask you about the bicycle thief because I was 99.9% sure my film school days didn't fail me completely. It was on the phone.
Oh yeah, it was on the snuck it in on the phone.
I was like, I'm pretty sure it's a bicycle thief.
Yeah, it's royalty free too.
Hey,
so
there you go. Yeah, I guess it's old enough now.
It's old enough.
I guess my favorite part about filmmaking is the process that filmmakers go through to get to their story, to get to the point of what they're actually trying to create. And so we'll start with you, but take me through sort of, at what point did you and your collaborators say, this is a good enough idea that we should commit this, we should commit a portion of our lives to this and actually record it? Take me through sort of, we'll start with Abby. I want to start with that moment. Like, when did you and your team, I'm guessing, sort of like, let's go ahead and do this?
So the writer and director was Dan Hickey, and I had known him for a good chunk of time. We have this Seattle horror group, and he was talking about his experience with Girl Scouts, and I remember talking to him about how we have like conventions, Comic-Con, stuff like that, and they're taking over there, right? It's not just for comic books anymore. So
Wait,
I
are they
think
like hustling cookies?
yeah.
Okay,
Oh
all
my
right.
God, yeah. Like literally everywhere. And so, but he added that twist at the end too. Like I didn't even think about that because he's such a creative writer. So, when he told me that, he had this idea for a script, I was like, oh my God, yes, let's do this. Let's talk about the trials and tribulations that we all go through when we're just trying to go shopping, and they're hanging out in front of the grocery store. Yep. So, he loves horror, so he kind of did a little horror twist on there at the end. Cool. So I really liked it.
I love it. That's awesome.
I wrote the script in 2019. I went to Columbia College in Chicago for filmmaking, and I didn't really make any of my own films after that. I kind of stumbled into improv comedy and sketch comedy, so I studied at Second City and I.O. and The Annoyance. So I still perform and act and do all that stuff. But then the pandemic hit, and it was right when the pandemic hit when I finally got a producer to join me, and that was Streeterville Productions, Scott Goldstein, and his brother-in-law David, who was the cinematographer, the editor, the colorist. He did a lot. And they were very supportive and loved the idea. And then the pandemic hit, so we like tightened the script as tight as we can get it. It was 24 minutes. It was 24 pages before the pandemic, and we whittled it down to like 16 pages. And finally, there was a point where we're like, it's opening up a little bit. Let's start shooting this thing, which is why we didn't have any interiors for like the montage stuff. It was going to be too troublesome and dangerous, so we decided to do a lot of exteriors for that.
I was going to ask you both that question. You guys shot a lot outside. Was that out of necessity? Was that out of a style choice, or was that sort of a little bit of both?
I'll go first. I'll go first. It was out of necessity. It was out of the fact that there was a pandemic and there would be a lot of more regulation to get people together. There was people that we couldn't even get on set because we wanted a fully vaccinated set. There were some people who still hadn't gotten the vaccine, so I was like, I'm sorry, I'd love to have you here, but we can't. It was definitely 100% out of necessity for that.
Yeah, we had to deal with that too, right? Because we have so many young girls who weren't able to get vaccinated. So, like the park scene that you see when it's like in the middle of the night and they're running outside. We actually shot that at a place called the Nile. It's a huge like horror haunt, kind of place, but it's usually indoors. And so for a lot of it, like the coffee scene and everything too, everyone pretty much, had to do everything outside because we are still in the pandemic, and we were trying to be as safe as possible. And as the assistant director, I was also making sure that everyone, as many people, at least of the adults, were vaccinated, right, or at least got like COVID tests on set, because I do CCO work also, so. Yeah, it was really important to make sure everyone stayed as safe as possible.
Yeah, COVID presented a lot of challenges, especially for like short films and small budget films and things like that, because there just wasn't the resources to combat having to go out and find different people to work because they weren't vaccinated or because somebody got sick or whatever it was. What were some of the other sort of, challenges that you guys had considering when you shot? Up to this point, there was a lot of hurdles to jump over, I'm sure. Like, I love when there's a production problem, and then the creative solution that has to come out of it. Well, but it really does speak to like the ability of the filmmakers to like. If you've made a film, it's nothing but problems. It's a thousand tiny fires.
Oh yeah.
That all have to be put out. But what was some of the challenges that you guys faced, and then how'd you overcome them?
I think weather was another big problem, especially we shot all the montage stuff for the performance when they were raising the money on one day, and then we also shot the pickpocketing scene on another day. And so on the day of the pickpocket scenes, we were originally supposed to go to like a farmer's market, like a big thing that happens in like, my wife's in the audience. Babe, what's that area that they do the flea market in? Maxwell Street. Sorry, yeah. So my family's here. I got my daughters here. A big support of mine. So yes, on Maxwell Street, and it rained on that day. So we delayed like another 2 weeks, and even on the day that we shot, we were watching the clouds, and it actually started raining in the middle of it. So we had to like stop and hold off, and me and one of the producers actually like yelled at each other on set because like things just got so tense because I really wanted a specific shot along a mural in Chicago along 16th Street, and we couldn't do it. I had to. Sometimes that happens on set. You can't get every shot that you want. You have to kind of make some tough choices. So we did it alongside El Milagro, which is a Mexican restaurant in Pilsen. Yeah, so it all worked out.
Yeah. So one of our producers, who's actually a volunteer for AFMX, Andrew Hayes, ended up in the hospital. Yeah. And she was supposed to be the child wrangler. So that job fell to me. And I had told Dan a long time ago that I never wanted to work with kids again because I had to do that before. And yeah, it was a lot trying to get isolated sound. So like you see some of the parts where you hear them, taunting and everything. And this was just cringe, but we had to keep them in a room with the sound guy by themselves so they could like record, with the doors shut and everything. And so I'm like making sure that the parents are okay and calm and it's not like a big deal or anything like that, while, other scenes are being shot outside. And then also we had another thing where, so the coffee place that you see at the corner, there's 2 of them in Seattle, and the lead actress went to the other one. So we're like, she's like, I'll get you a hot chocolate. I was like, cool, I'll meet you there, because we were, getting all the rest of the crafty, because our crafty person, who is freaking phenomenal, and you see their logo up there all the time, Jessica Productions, and he's right here, Mike Dabrowski. By the way, if anyone ever needs crafty, he's the best ever. Gourmet food all around. So we get to the location and she's not there, and we're like, where
Did you know right away? It's like, oh, she must be the other one, or is
I mean, I don't really like go to this Seattle area a lot. Like I'm 15 minutes right outside of Seattle, and so when I looked up on Google, I realized that it was another one, and I was like, you might be at the wrong one.
How far apart are they?
They're about 15, 20 minutes,
Okay.
so it wasn't horrible,
Yeah.
but like we were waiting a bit because the shot was already set up and everything. Because the other camera team at Gunn, she had to take off her mask and makeup and all of the special effects stuff. So yeah, it's things that happen on
set. She didn't go to the
set.
coffee shop as Satan? Okay.
No, she
okay,
didn't.
okay.
Oh, thank goodness.
The coffee would have been free, I'm just saying.
I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I mean, we ended up getting everything together, and it worked out really well, as most productions do. Also, we ran over.
Yeah.
And with kids, you can't really do that.
No.
So there were some pickup shots like in the bedroom that had to end up being done in a different house, because we were using Andrea's friend's house, and we, like I said, we ran over, so we had to figure out another bedroom.
There's a lot of creative solutions.
Yeah.
Creative problem solving.
Yeah.
For sure. I want to talk to you both about your costumes and your special effects makeup and stuff like that, because neither one of you did it light.
No.
You know what I mean? From between the prop trousers that you had to vigorously clean, and and the mariachi outfits, and you weren't shy on cast. There was a lot of people in both of your films. So what were some of the how did you guys get through crafting that into the film? That's a big job to take on.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to have our costume designer, and she also had a set dresser work with her, so they were fantastic together. And I met with her early on before we hit production, and I talked about, the things that were important, and the mariachi suits were very important, and she's so great. She was so gung-ho to like go to local shops in Pilsen to look for materials and for the actual suits, and I still have the suit. I wore it for Halloween. We had a whole Coco theme. It was great. She also like made the ties herself, and for the stain shot, we still use the same pants for only one pair of pants, but she had an extra cloth that she put salsa on and hit it very well. And she did Sarah's her name, and she did fantastic with everything.
Very
yeah.
cool. And you guys had to dress, what, a dozen kids? Plus your actors, plus some special effects makeup that was not easy, or it was very elaborate.
Yeah.
Like, kind of talk me through that.
Yeah, so Seattle is just known for a ton of amazing special effects artists, and we were lucky enough that in the film community, it runs very parallel to the horror side also. And so I have this amazing friend who, he makes props, he does special effects. He just started building an AR wall now too. So we're gonna start, taking that, like using that for productions here pretty soon. But his closet is full of blood and and all kinds of stuff. The one other issue that we did have to deal with, poor Kimmy, who had the blood shoot in her eyes, actually got under her contact lenses. Oh. Yeah, and so and she actually works in there's an underground tour thing that happens in Seattle, and she works for there, so she couldn't go to work that day, just because of the blood. And we're like, just drive home with blood all over you. It's totally fine. So yeah, like we had some people who've just been doing it for so long, and they're good at it, and they're so OCD. Like the masks that we had. They were pre-made masks that ended up fitting really well on both of the actresses. And so, we're just so lucky, because if we ever want to shoot a horror movie, they're just like, yeah, sign me up. Yeah. I got the bloody bat in my trunk. Let's go.
That's so cool. I love that. How long did you shoot for, both of you?
Ours was only like 2 days altogether. So we did it, so it was supposed to be 2 days. So it was 2 days, and then, like I said, those pickup shots in the bedroom and stuff like that, they ended up going to do that on another day, because I think I was working on another film set, so I couldn't join them for that one.
Wow, that's a pretty quick pace. That's a lot of setups.
I'm good as an AD.
Yeah, keep the train moving. I like that.
Ours was supposed to be 5 days, and it turned into 6 with the rain delay. So yeah,
that's not bad. Mm-hmm. It's always a learning experience.
Yes.
What I mean? Every time I make one, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that before I made this one. What was like a big kind of takeaway that you got out of this one?
I was right about not wanting to work with a bunch of kids. No, honestly, I mean, so when we did the video, you see the video in the beginning, you have to realize with kids that they grow. Really quickly, especially when they're at a certain age. And so when you're doing independent film, if you are working with kids, you have to make sure everything that you do it as quickly as possible. Because all of those girls were way taller. Some of the taller girls that you saw, like running through the woods, that was some of them, the one that was upside down. And I don't know what she was doing. They're all so tall now. So it's like, we did that video, I think 6 or 7 months before we actually shot, because it was just the idea, right? And like I said, with independent film, sometimes things take a little bit longer. And so I think just making sure that we're making sure that our actresses are safe and careful, especially if there are things that could go wrong on set, like blood getting in your eye, and also making sure that like the parents are aware multiple times. because we did, but you just kind of have to remind them that sometimes being on a film set is going to take a period of time. You know, it's not something that's super quick or anything like that. It's going to be multiple I mean, like, we had to do the running through the forest scene at least 3 or 4 times just to get something that made sense. And then also all of the kids just, like, have their own thoughts and ideas on how they want to do things, and it's but it's all separate from what you want them to do. You know, it was fun. It was definitely fun seeing how imaginative they all were. But you know, at the same time, like, we got some little Beyoncés going on there. We had some little ones.
Wow. Yeah, they were the star of the film.
They were. They absolutely were. We did the, you know, separation of the M&Ms and stuff like that.
You got the rider in advance.
We got it. Yeah.
No big deal.
For me, I would say probably the biggest lesson I took away was speaking up for things that matter. Just because there was a moment at the very beginning of pre-production about the flashback, and in my head I pictured like full-on animation or even like moving storyboard type of thing, and we brought that up and they're like, oh, that's a great idea. And as time just kept going, it kind of got lost and everything. And so in my head, I was like, should I bring it up? Should I not? There's a lot going on, and I didn't speak up. And so when I finally did speak up, it was a little too late, and so we kind of had to do what we could, which ended up and I still fell in love with the way it worked with music and with all of it, the way it all ended up together. But the still frames on the right-hand side, they were supposed to be full animation, but yeah, I mean, definitely, if you're working on a project and there's something that matters to you that you feel very strongly about, like, speak up. If no one listens, then speak up louder. So
we talk a lot about voice, you know what I mean? I think that really speaks to that. We are looking for filmmakers with a voice, and speaking up is half the battle, honestly. It's that opportunity to have your voice be heard, for sure. That's a great lesson to learn. I mean, it's a tough one to learn, but it's a good one. I want to talk about post-production for a little bit, because both of you had exceptionally chaotic sequences. Exceptionally chaotic, and that's not easy to craft because you're taking a lot of pieces and jamming them together pretty quickly. Can you kind of talk through your post-production process? And I'm curious about the chaos of it all.
Yeah. I'm learning the lessons of you know, having our editors actually be involved on set, especially because I feel like it makes things a lot easier for them. I didn't know who the editor was. I actually met him for the first time at a horror convention of another film festival that the film got into, and he was like, this is the first time I'm seeing the whole product with the music and, you know, the Psycho Girls and everything, and I was just like, yeah, and it's great, like, this is amazing, right? Like, having something go from a page to act it out and then having like a finished product, you know, because he didn't do the sound effects or the music, you know, the score or anything like that. So you know, we had met for the first time at this convention, and you know, we were both just laughing the whole time, like, oh my God, we did this. Yeah. This is really funny. Yeah.
Post-production was a hell of a time, several months put together. This was my first official directing film, and any little video that I made before this, I would edit myself. And I told our producing team that, and they're like, okay, but you know, we got Dave here. He's like a professional editor. He knows what he's doing. Yeah. And he did. The way he cut that thing down, it was so long beforehand, and he really trimmed it, and he put the frames together for the pickpocketing scene. That was his idea. It was fantastic. I originally put the assembly together, and then I passed it on, and it worked very well. And then for music, original songs were created by my cousin Omar Monzon. And he just knocked it out of the park. He's like a genius. And I would just send him, you know, the dailies and stuff, and he would just riff and then find something and be like, yeah, let's go with that.
That's great.
Yeah, he's my Zimmer. He's my he's my John Williams. I told him that already. I'm like, you're gonna roll with me for a while. And then we were super lucky to get to have our sound professionally mixed at Noise Floor in Chicago. So if you ever need post-production sound work, Noise Floor, and you're in Chicago, Noise Floor is the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also made sure that, like, because we didn't have a scripty on set, so, I was actually, like, acting a scripty, too, and making sure that, depending on the shots, so they didn't have to go through, like, so much footage and, figure out what sounds made sense or whatever audio that was recorded. So I think he like, came up to me later on. He's like, can I just thank you? Because that made everything so much easier. And I was like, good, because I don't want to do your job. But, whatever I can do to make it as easy as possible.
It's wild how many hats we have to wear on a short film.
For sure.
Between, being a scripty and a caterer and a PA. And I don't know that anybody on a short film can not claim that they were also a PA, because they will definitely get asked to pick something up or haul something somewhere. So I guess we got to wrap it up, but I'll kick it back to you. Just what's next? What are you working on? What's going on?
I have another short I wrote, and I'm ready. I'm like in the pre-production phases. So my goal with this one is to try to do it in one take. So that's the mission, and I'm gonna go for it. Yeah.
You and I gotta talk.
So we are currently, me and a number of my team. Actually, the editor is here. They're volunteering at this event also. We are working with a senator right now, Senator Mona Das, who was the 47th representative of Washington State, along with a number of other BIPOC women. So we actually have some interviews with Stacey Abrams that are supposed to be happening, and Sherry Beasley from Atlanta, and we're gonna put all of this together, and the title is Badass Women Doing Kick-Ass Shit.
Yeah.
And
I will watch that. Hell yeah.
And it's the first political documentary that is executive produced by a politician, and by a BIPOC politician on top of that too, because she was a Indian immigrant from Mumbai. So she's just like, tell me, she's getting us, she has these contacts. She's actually in DC at the White House right now. So I'm always jealous anytime she's there, because she's hanging out with Michelle Obama. But we're really excited to finally finish this and put this all together, and hopefully it'll be sometime, I think, within the next 2 or 3 weeks that we'll have a pilot episode. And it's not only going to focus on politicians. Like, the next episode is going to be entertainers, and then scientists, and so on and so forth. So really excited about it. Thank you.
Sounds really great.
Thank you.
I thank you so much, both
Thank
of
you.
you, for sharing your time and talent with us
Thank
and
you.
your films. Abby and Miguel, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us here at AFMX. Please enjoy the rest of the festival. We got lots of really great stuff coming up in the next couple of days. There's going to be some awesome center stage conversations. Don't miss any of it. If you have the choice, watch all of it. So, all right, everybody, have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Hey, everyone. Thank you. Hey, just want to give you a heads up. I'm Kira Seipler. I'm the Director of Operations of AFMX. And I just want to let you know, for you filmmakers, we have a meet and greet tonight at Machuchi. So if you need a little drink, a little libation, a little snack, go meet up, all right? So thanks for being here, all right? Thank you.